Hello, and welcome to the Eternal Optimist Podcast. My name is Matt Drinka, and I am the handsomest host that you will never see because this is simply a listening audio recording podcast. But take my word for it, that is the truth. So, this show today, we are going to help you get your mind right. We're going to help you overcome the challenges that are out there. We're going to provide a sense of hope, and we're going to do it in a grand fashion with a guest who is absolutely amazing. Before we get started, I want to remind you that you can connect with me on social media. Follow me on Instagram at Eternal Optimist Podcast. You can also find me on Facebook at Eternal Optimist Podcast. But today's episode is all about elevating your experience of life, owning the challenges that have been with you for a long time, and bringing out your best. And it's important because it's going to help you live a life of peace, of happiness, of joy, a life where you can solve challenges, a life where you can live on your terms. And there is no better person to share their story and teach this to you than today's guest. Today, we have the unique privilege and pleasure of speaking with Amber Vilhauer. Now, Amber is someone that has been referred to me by a number of people that I trust and respect. A number of people have already been on the show, in fact, and she is absolutely amazing. This conversation, as we were having it, her energy was so real and raw and transparent. Just being right there with her, I felt like I was being elevated just by speaking with her. She's amazing. I mean, in so many ways. She's beautiful on the inside and out in such that she shares her story with such real emotion, and you get into it very quickly. And then on the other side of it, she's able to teach a good lesson and able to live that lesson. She is inspiring. There's no other way to say it. Professionally, she has done a lot. She's written books. She went to college at the University of Arizona, where she actually sold kill cutlery, like a number of people that I know very well. She was trained there. She achieved the highest sales level in the company, and she moved through the management levels very quickly. Within a couple years there, she drove the success of a 13-office division across 4 different states. She managed more than 30 different administrative assistants at one time and broke several national records in her organization. She uncovered her talent for public speaking. And then since then, at the age of 24, she started No Guts, No Glory Enterprises. Over the past decade, she's been on a relentless pursuit to help influencers, both big and small, overcome their fears and create high impact in their industry, just as she has done herself. She does so many things. I will let you go and Google her and go to all of her websites, which you will find in the show notes, because she's just done so much and she's so amazing. And this conversation can be a game changer. I invite you to sit back and listen with all of your heart and mind and soul to my new friend, Miss Amber Vilhauer. Enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to the Eternal Optimist Podcast, the show for optimists by optimists. This is the show for people who see the good in the world and want to make a positive difference in the lives of their families and communities. Each week, you'll hear inspiring stories that will get you thinking bigger and playing more offense in life. With your host and high-performance coach, Matt Drinka.
And with that, I'd love to welcome to the Eternal Optimist Podcast, my guest, new friend, and exciting entrepreneur to the stars and to regular people and to everyone, just an exciting woman in general, Amber Vilhauer. Amber, welcome.
Yay, this is so exciting. I've been looking forward to this very much. And Matt has already completely blown my socks off just in the little bit of time that we have gotten to know each other. So I think this is going to be really awesome. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Awesome. Well, what a great response. Flattered and excited to go wherever we go. Yes. Climax. We just hit the end of the movie. We did it first. All good. I love your energy. It's infectious, contagious, and I love to share some of that with our audience today. And that may take us to a dark place with challenges. It may take us to a really high place with future and vision. Don't know where it's going to go, but at this podcast, we love to explore the defining challenges that have helped us to become the people that we are. And so, Amber, I'd love to dive in and give you the microphone to start with any challenge that you'd like at any point in your life, and share with us, what was a challenge that has helped to shape and define Amber Vilhauer?
Awesome. So we're just going right into the deep end, which is my favorite, by the way. I do that with my clients all the time. So I just say, bring it on. Gosh, there have been a lot of challenges in the past couple of years, especially, and in life in general. And I look at that as a gift because it's a gift for me to really experience what my true potential is. And I don't mean that as just some like cheesy response and things that people say. I actually mean it. I lean into challenge, and it requires great bravery and discipline. But I continue to exercise those muscles. That's really important to me because at the end of the day, I want to know who I really am and what I'm made out of. So I'm the person that plays all out every single day. I go to bed wiped. I leave it all on the line. But I would say that sort of an ongoing challenge, I would say, in my life, and it shows up in different experiences, of course, kind of different layers of the same lesson, is really about trusting my voice, really knowing my value, and using my voice. Those are three that I struggle greatly with. There have been a lot of people in my past that have greatly influenced me and sort of got me to question my own truth and what I thought was right. And when that happens repeatedly, all of a sudden you second guess yourself. And then when you second guess yourself, what I started to do to adapt is I would start to look at the collective. What's the collective evidence? What can I learn? What is the popular vote here? And at the end of the day, I would still listen to my instinct, but it sure felt like the long road to get where I wanted to go. So it would take a long time to make decisions. And it was sometimes very difficult for me to trust my own internal instincts. So there, again, back to that second guessing. And then also using my voice, depending on the situation, can be extremely difficult, like extremely difficult. And again, regardless of these challenges, I lean in. I exercise bravery because I really believe that the only way through it is through it. And so at least I try to have awareness of how these challenges present themselves. I'm trying to seek out the patterns in my own behavior and my decision making so that I can get there a little bit faster. But then life just keeps us interesting because it presents new, different types of experiences that it's sometimes hard to pick up on those same patterns. But I would say those are my three biggest challenges, probably.
I feel you. I hear you. I appreciate you. The thing that I struggle with sometimes is I get to talk to people like you who are amazing, having a great impact on the world. Your energy is so amazing. I mean, everything about you, I'm experiencing right now for the first time live and in person, and it's amazing. And it's tough for the everyday listener to hear someone like Amber, who's incredibly successful and amazing and awesome. She has trouble trusting her own voice. It's just hard to think that even the most successful, amazing people have that. And I'm curious, your journey of trusting your voice. Can you take us back to a turning point when maybe you did not trust it and you decided to, go all in and really trust it for the first time? Can you take us back to that moment or that experience when you started to really trust, and then bring us forward to now, please?
Matt, I know you're quite well researched on me. Did you happen to see the episode with Darius Mirshahzadeh?
Of course. Of course. And I
That's
did
where
not
my
say his
mind
name
was
right the
went.
first time. Yeah.
No, this is fantastic because it really was in that episode. It was sort of like a live stream podcast. I don't know. Darius and I are friends. We're colleagues. We're all the things. And Darius was digging into a moment when I was 16 years old. And I describe this as my rock bottom moment. And I think what people make a lot of assumptions in general with everybody, right? You go on Instagram and you think, oh, they have it so easy, or they were born a speaker, right? So, okay, I'm not like that though. And I always say that I imagine the absolute opposite of who I am today. And that was pretty much like my first 20 years of life. I was not smiley. My energy was very dim. I was not well liked in school. I didn't have friends. I never really spoke. I made people feel really awkward and uncomfortable around me. My sister lit up the room. And so it was actually worked out really well because everybody just wanted to pay attention to what she was doing. And I could just sort of hide in the shadows, which was fine with me because I was suffering inside. I didn't feel good. So when you are not feeling good on the inside, you don't really want to express on the outside. And then your outside world shifts to reflect how you feel on your inside, right? So anyway, that was sort of my upbringing. And by the time I was 16 years old, I was hanging out with friends that I felt like I was good enough to be around. Now just think about that for a moment. So if I'm already not really feeling very worthy, what are the types of individuals I would surround myself with that matched that unworthiness? So these were not very good people. And the story is actually sort of a long and complicated one, but long story short, one of the girls, and again, I'm 16, she's like, Amber, let me tell you the secret, but you better take it to your grave. You know how young kids are. And so I'm like, I won't tell anybody, I swear. Well, anyway, long story short, she's sleeping with my other friend's boyfriend and she's boastful. It's like she's bragging about it. And I sat with this for a while and I thought, man, that's messed up because my other friend was like, I'm so in love with my boyfriend and life is so great. And I know he's cheating on her. So I sit with it. And I thought, the right thing to do is to tell my friend that her boyfriend's cheating on her. So I go and do that. And it was not a good outcome. She didn't believe me. She confronted the boyfriend who confronted the friend who told me the secret. And one thing turned into another and a lot of ugliness ensued. I ended up going to a party that weekend that I did not realize was set up for me. There were about 80 kids there. And that night I got jumped by 5 girls. And I'm in the backyard, I'm on the ground, and I am getting the life kicked out of me, literally. And in that moment, it was sort of strange. Like I could almost observe the scene happening. I was almost out of my body and it was time slowed way down. And I just thought how interesting it is that nobody is stopping this. There's all these kids and nobody is saving me. And now it's really cool, Matt, because I realize like, oh, that's because I need to save me. And so I got up off the ground and I ran out of there and, here I am today. I used that as an opportunity to really look inward. And I thought, is this my life? Is this the way it's going to be? And I started to just get really sad thinking about a life that is on this trajectory. If at 16, I'm getting jumped, what's going to happen at 20? And so I decided to change my life and I decided to start being somebody that I'm more proud to be. And day by day, decision by decision, I started to shift and I taught myself how to make better choices. And that led to better outcomes, which made me feel better. And then my outside world became better. And on the story goes. But that, to answer your question, that was a time where I really took a stand and I thought, I'm going to use my voice for the right thing. And then I got beat up over it. So I do think that somehow in my subconscious, it was like, don't use your voice because you'll get beat up. And I do think that that plays into any time I need to use that voice. There's something in me that gets really scared and wants to hide and self-protect because it's perceived threat. It's something bad might happen if I share my truth. So you see, I think the subconscious is fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, because you're built trusting your voice is something that it's like a core value that you now live, and by living it, you're subjected to, if I trust my voice, I could get beat up again. Even though you might not literally get beat up again,
I
it's
know.
still
Yeah.
your past and everything. It's still there. I wonder, just sticking with trusting my voice, I wonder how from that moment at 16 when trusting your voice was around hanging out with people that were just good enough, and then you had to believe in yourself there. I wonder if there's a place right now where you might struggle trusting your voice, or if there's a place now where, you know what, I trust my voice, and maybe it's a blind spot and it got you into something. I'm curious how that shows up now,
Hmm.
trusting my voice.
Yeah, that's good. I will put some thought into that. I mean, I can tell you that in relationships in general, I think one of the biggest things that has happened in the last year is I cleared out the majority of relationships that were in my sort of inner circle. And, there was just an event that occurred about a year ago that really rocked my world again. And it was just a family matter that confused me and brought a lot of this awareness to surface. So it was a really big blessing in that way. But when all of your beliefs kind of get kicked up in the air and you're staring at them, then you think, what's true in this, and what do I want to continue to believe, and what needs to be shifted, because maybe I'm no longer the little kid that's just coping. Maybe I'm an adult now and I can have different beliefs because I have a different perspective. I have a different set of experiences, right? So I've just been in this deep introspective journey. And as I've done that, I started to look at a lot of the people that I had surrounded myself with. There was power in numbers, probably safety, but it was a lot of me sacrificing my voice and kind of staying small to just sort of fit in a way, or just keep the status quo. Like I didn't want to ruffle feathers or disagree, and I just was very agreeable to everything. And I've just really been reflecting: is that really my truth? And I'm still on this journey, so I can't tell you I have a definitive answer, but I do recognize that a lot of the relationships, I've sort of outgrown them. And now, in an effort to really honor myself and my life journey, I'm choosing me. And it's scary and it's hard and it's kind of starting over in a lot of ways. And that feels like a big risk. But then, I look back at that word bravery, courage, and I'm like, okay, what else is out there for me on my hero's journey? And we'll have to do a part two so that I can tell you what happens.
So amazing. It's like you're the Pied Piper and you're like playing this tune, and I'm like totally entranced with it, because you're sharing like the hardest thing for you. And I bet a number of people out there, myself included, have been through this place where, am I at the right spot with the right people at this right time, and starting to go introspective and ask yourself the questions. And I certainly have felt personally that I've outgrown some relationships, and not but, and I still care, and I don't want to hurt them or let them down. And I know it might not be taking me in this direction that I want to go. So it's a lot of introspection, and I appreciate you sharing your journey. It's challenging. Thank you.
Well, I'll add one follow up if I could, that something that I'm learning within it is, with some of the relationships that were not healthy, but I still want them in my life for different reasons. How can I instead hold on to the good parts and the beneficial parts, and create healthy boundaries around the parts that are unhealthy? And learning that has been really interesting. I see now that it's not like it has to be a whole person or a whole relationship. I can just, if I like it like a pie, I can enjoy this section of the pie, and then I don't have to engage in that other section. And then actually it turns into a healthier relationship. But you really do have to understand, why am I being triggered by these unhealthy parts? Or why is that not serving me or serving the relationship? If it's somebody who's like really negative and I just feed into it because I think I have to in order to maintain this relationship, well, that's not good for either of us. So instead, if I can just put a boundary around that negativity and only focus on the parts that lift us up, they can go be negative with somebody else. That's fine. They can be, destructive some other way. But I'm here if you want to engage in a conscious and positive and healthy relationship. And in order to do that, I can't talk about these topics with you. And I am sorry about that. Maybe somewhere down the road, we'll be able to talk about those things. But for now, just out of protection for me and my heart and the health of our relationship long-term, I really just want to focus in on these topics for now, if that's okay. And so I'm learning that concept, and it's awesome because then you really can have it all. And then people, I have found, they don't reject you, they respect you for it. And then they want to be in your world, they'll respect the boundary, and then everybody wins,
I love your setting the boundaries. It reminds me of my training with John Berghoff in Exchange, and
Love
talking
that guy.
about.
Come on.
You love that guy. I was just throwing that out there because you're talking some stuff about, how might we be able to do this while still doing this? I'm thinking about just limitless potential and the questions, the way you frame things in your mind gives you the best potential at every relationship or at everything. And I wanted to highlight that. I'm also thinking of Sandler sales training and thinking about you're setting clear expectations and making it clear how to communicate with you at your best. And anyways, what I'm really thinking about, since the ADD is really in full gear, is pie. Because you said the slice of the pie. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now. If there were a slice of pie that you could have that were your favorite pie, then what pie might that be?
Come on, man. Well, it is the season. I think it's pumpkin pie.
Good.
It would have to be a Costco pumpkin pie. Those things are dangerous. I'm just telling you.
Fair. I love the pies that there's a show. It was not Hell's Kitchen. It was Master Chef, I think was the show. It was like season 1 or 2. There's a lady on there. I think her name might have been Christine. She had blonde hair. She's from New York. She runs a restaurant called Milk. And we ordered my wife Julie's birthday gift, her cake and a pie and cookies, all from that place. It's phenomenal. Okay, I'm gonna rein it back in here with the ADD. Come back. Let's come back to something serious you said that was very insightful. You talked about leaning into your courage and leaning into bravery. And I'm curious what that means in your perspective, leaning into courage and bravery. So if you could take it from here, we've talked about the first story at 16. If we can move forward into the future and talk about bravery and courage, where's another place you feel you showed bravery or courage in your life, Amber?
Every single day. I mean, I'm not even joking you. Every single day, there's a moment. There's sometimes so many moments that I just can't believe it. And I know it's because I'm a CEO and a single mom. Like those two things, those are filled with opportunities to have fear or doubt. And I think that when the fear or the doubt comes up, I just breathe and I take action. And I think what a lot of people I observe do is they procrastinate, they hide, they avoid, they cope. They have different outlets to numb. And I really try not to do that. And I just cannot stand wasting time unless I'm intentionally trying to waste time. That's the one time it's allowed. But other than that, I can't stand wasting time. And frankly, I don't know where this extreme sense of urgency even comes from, but I just feel like there's not going to be enough time. And so maybe I could dig into that at some other point. But, when it comes to parenting, even I'm just so finely present to every single moment. I want to capture it. I want to soak it in. I want to remember it. Now, same thing. I want to capture it. I want to soak it in. I'm fully present to this moment as if nothing else matters, because nothing else does in this moment except us here right now with the listener having a meaningful conversation. So I think even in this moment, Matt, this moment is me leaning in to courage, because no matter how often you do it, it's still scary to share your truth with other people, because it's the most raw part of our humanity, right? I mean, there is no protective layer when you're sharing yourself. And if we look at our history, it's full of painful moments. And as humans, we try to avoid threats and painful moments. So anytime that you are being open with another person, you have to consciously be aware of the fact that you might get hurt in this moment. But I think my greater purpose overrides, which is to connect with people. I'm all about relationships. I'm all about, love this phrase my mom said all the time growing up, leave the campground better than when you found it. So my goal in this moment with you, Matt, is to leave you better than when I found you at the beginning of this conversation, right? And I'm actively working toward filling you up, breathing my light and love into you and into this podcast so that your listeners hear it. And the only way I'm going to be successful in that is if I exercise bravery and courage, and I open up to criticism or somebody thinking I'm full of it or whatever people are going to think and do based on their own experiences. And I'm just going to choose that so that we can make faster progress in humanity. And if I can lead by example and be open and impact you, you will then be inspired to do the same. And if we could collectively do that, what shift would that make for our kids and how we parent? So every day.
Wow. You got one thing right. I think you are full of it, full of love, energy, humanity. I think that you have left this campground better than when you got here, for sure. I'm already inspired, and at the very least, and I'm going to start to shift our discussion into this exciting future that you are creating. At the very least, one way you've impacted me already, and I'm sure the listeners will find impact here, is that when we came on, I saw your background, and there are a number of amazing books that you and your organization have helped to bring into this world. And I have a couple of them on my shelf already. I have Alice Daly's Magic Mom on the shelf and Justin Donald's Lifestyle Investor on my shelf already. So I'm starting to give you some time to think about this exciting future that you might want to promote or create. I'm a huge fan. Before we ever met, Amber, I was a huge fan of you. And that's even exacerbated or amplified now. So I'd love to kind of go into what exciting future are we creating? What is it out there that it's going to help the world and help to continue this fostering of greater connection and humanity? Please take it from here.
Well, when I was growing up, I was a great observer. And, I already kind of talked to you about the dynamics of my family, and I didn't really use my voice and all of that. When you're not the loudest person in the room, you can develop a superpower for listening and observation. And so, although that first, 18, 20 years of my life were difficult, man, the gift I got out of that was the power of observation. And now I'm at a stage in my life as I'm crossing over into my 40s, feeling like I have ample time to really use the tools that I've developed in my life in really outrageously powerful ways, many of which I don't even know yet. So I don't know what the future looks like. I am very much living in the present moment right now. So I might have some ideas or feelings that I want to have, but what does it exactly look like? I have no idea. But I do know that power of observation has given me this superpower to really know the truth of who somebody is almost instantly upon meeting them. And I can start to experience almost in a physical way where there are opportunities to fill that person back up. Right? Because when you think about it, like, let me give it to you as a parenting, or you're a business owner or whatever, you only have so much energy in a day. So as we continue throughout our day, we start losing energy until all of a sudden, we're like at the edge of our tank. There's nothing left to give at the end of the day. We need to go to sleep and rest to recharge for the next day. Right? Well, when I'm meeting with people in my career, in and outside of my career. I meet them for the first time. I see the truth of who they are. And all of a sudden I can see like, wow, their tank is pretty empty. And I think to myself, okay, this is an opportunity. So I'm listening to them talk about, oh yeah, I had this idea to write a book, and then here's my publishing plan, and this is where I am or where I'm not. And so I'm listening to all of that and I'm digesting it, and my mind is formulating a business model for them. So I can help them with a marketing plan, a monetization model, help them launch their book and come up with a plan. And it's really efficient and it's budget friendly and it makes perfect sense. And so I check all those boxes. But the real work is I'm seeing, what do I need to do to pour in enough light into this person so that they believe in themselves and they actually take action on the plan that we've just created. And it's not like a manipulation. It's done in such love and honoring for that person, because life beats us up. And we all are pretty like self-obsessed in a way, right? Because it's our lives. And so there's really not enough emphasis on other people pouring into you to fill your cup back up. That's your job, to fill up your cup, right? But I think I have enough talent to not only fill my own cup every day, but to fill a lot of other people's cups every day. And I look at that as my real work on the planet. So whether it's a book launch client or a mom in the car line when I pick up my kiddo from school, or holding the door open for somebody in Starbucks, my real work, what the future looks like for me, is pouring in healing, love, validation, and confidence into people to restore people based on whatever I can observe or experience from them. And it looks and plays out in a lot of different ways. Every relationship I have is different. But if I can just do that, then I know, karmically speaking, all the referrals will happen, and, the promotions and the accolades and the trophies and the whatever, the human stuff. Cool. Like, got the badge. But the real work that I love to do is just pour into people and fill their cup back up.
Wow. I wonder, I'm so amazed, and I love that you said, I think I have enough talent to fill my own cup and other people's cups too. And I affirm, validate, whatever. Yeah, you've got that. Totally got that. 'Cause my cup is 100% full, overflowing now with what you have. So I appreciate that. The question is, how long did it take you to get to that place where you could say that out loud? Because that takes a certain self-belief that I don't know if you had back in the day, when you weren't trusting your voice. But
No.
you've got it. You got it now. At what point did you have the courage and confidence to say those words out loud? Because that was absolutely amazing. And just seeing you have the courage and bravery to say that, I wonder when that Amber first came out and said those things.
About a few seconds ago.
A few seconds ago. Yes. Okay.
I mean, truly, because that is our life journey, as you take steps toward it, right? So it might be coming out in different ways. Like, I had this client a couple years ago, and he was a consultant and, older gentleman launching a book. And he said, I have this assessment that I've taken tens of thousands of people through. I'd love to take you through the assessment and do a debrief call with you. Sign me up. I love that stuff. So I took the assessment. It took me a long time. Then we scheduled our debrief. He gave me like an 80-page plan. And in the plan, it's super overwhelming. It tells you everything about yourself. And in that session, I will never forget, he said, Amber, it's so fascinating what I pick up on your assessment. And I'm like, what it would tell me more. And he said, well, look at this in your business role, like your CEO hat, when that's on, your confidence straddles between a 9 and a 10. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's the best feeling ever. I mean, I could use my voice all day long when I'm that, business person teaching you about book launches or whatever. And he said, but here's what's really interesting. In your personal life, when you take off the CEO hat, your confidence drops down to a 6. He said, I've almost never seen that. That's really remarkable. And so I'll never forget that, because that actually kicked off a whole other healing journey for me of like, why would that happen? Where's the difference there? And I'm honestly still digging into that a little bit, but circling back to what you said about, oh, you've made it, you're using your voice. Yes. And like, there are still times where I don't. And I'm just trying to understand, why is it so easy in some topics or some moments, and it's very difficult in others? And that's the journey that I'm currently on.
Why is it so easy in some moments and so difficult in other moments? That's the journey we're on.
And specifically the difference between a CEO and who Amber is in her personal life. Like, it's the roles that we play, and somehow the way that we are confident in those roles or choose to use our voice in those roles. But somehow when we step out of those roles, like maybe for you, parenting is like it, you could do it all day long. And other people are like, oh my gosh, parenting is where I really suffer. So something about the roles that we play in our lives, and noticing where we are strongest and most confident, and then what can we learn from how we operate in that role, and shift some of that power and learning and experience into other roles, so that things are a little bit more balanced and we're more even, and we can just use our voice, period. I guess that's what I mean.
Well, that's super smart. I'll quote a friend of mine, Adam Stock,
Love that guy.
from the Front Row Dads. You know Adam too? Okay, I thought you might. He's pretty phenomenal, and he ran a workshop at the start of last year, and he was talking about when you approach your personal life with the same, his exact words, when you approach your family calendar with the same intensity, enthusiasm, vigor that you approach your business calendar, then your results and confidence will reflect the same way they do in your business life. And I thought about that in January 2021 when he ran the workshop, and started to apply that to business coaching, and what you had described, I see frequently. And one of the ways you said, it's a 9 or a 10 in business, and sometimes it might be a 6, personally, and you're on the journey of that. And I can only say this, without turning this into a coaching call. That's not the purpose of it. I can say that you're on the right path. You're 100% on the right path. So many of us face that. I face that. I honor you for sharing it, and I think the listeners will respect it. Amber, how might we find out some more about some of these books you're writing, or your social media accounts, which I follow and love all the time? I think I love one recently. In fact, like they're on there all the time. They're really well done too. Whoever's doing that, by the way, is kick ass. Where might we find out more about you?
Well, you could literally go and do any search and you'll find me. So 15 years of search engine rankings, as you know. But Amber Vilhauer, since nobody knows how to say, spell, or remember that, Amber V can get you there usually. NGNG, my company name, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. NGNG could get you where you want to go. But there's tons of YouTube videos and podcast interviews and magazine articles and blog posts. And where I spend my personal time the most, which is not very frequent, but the most, would be Instagram. And that's where you're going to find me sharing more of the life wisdom mixed in with the business wisdom. So I would say Instagram is probably where you're going to get the most value right now. But I have a team that has a whole operation behind repurposing. So whatever your social media channel is of choice, then I'll be there as well. But the last thing I would say is that I am just a very open door policy person. So, anybody who sends me an email, I actually spend time to thoughtfully reply. In fact, when somebody signs up for my email community, like my newsletter or whatever, there's an email that comes out that asks one question, and it shares my core values, and it says just open-ended, like, what's on your mind? Why are you in my world? I really want to get to know you. And, typical internet marketing stuff, it's so templated and nobody responds. And, like, it's like a bot that sends it out. When somebody responds to that email, I'll look at their social media profiles. I'll look at their website. I'll see what I can find out about that person. I will answer their question in a video or in an email and just pour into them. Even if I never hear from them again, I just really take each interaction seriously because I want people to feel that impact. So any listeners welcome to reach out anytime about anything and start a conversation.
Mm, fantastic. What because I don't want to wrap up just yet. I feel there's another chapter we have to finish this book today. And I like the
Uh-oh.
way the
Okay.
book thinking. I'm curious if there are any books you have coming out or anything right now that you'd like to just put on a platform and talk about, because you've published so many and some of them had some great impact in my life so far. So are there any new ones or any ones that you want to highlight? I know we can't highlight them all, but if there were like 2 or 3 of them that are newer
Mhm.
ones that you might want to
Mhm.
share, what might those be?
Well, I will say that you could pretty much pick up any book that we've launched and you'll find consistent value, goodness, um, just value out of it. I'm extremely careful about the community that I bring together and the clients that I take on. I'm fortunately at a stage in my career where I'm not scrounging for my next client. And I've also gotten so good at understanding who I want to work with the most. I want to work with really kind people who are serious and want to help humanity in whatever way. And so, all of my authors share those traits. And so any of the books, if you go to NGNG's website and then click on the book launches page, there's a list of like all of our upcoming books that you can kind of check out. But then also NGNG Enterprises on Instagram, if you just kind of scroll down the feed, you'll see some of our past books. But one that is releasing today that is especially special is Hardwired for Happiness by Ashish Katari. And he has a website called Happiness Squad. And it's such a great book. He was a very successful, he had all the things. He had the beautiful wife, the beautiful kid, the perfect job, made tons of money in like this beautiful neighborhood, like great family. He had it all, but there was still something missing. So he set off on this journey. He read hundreds of books on neuroscience and spirituality and just really seeking, went on silent retreats, all of these different things. And then curated all of that content and distilled it down into a very simple formula. It almost reminds me of Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, sort of, except this is a formula for being happy, genuinely happy inside, and how that can spill out to the rest of your life. So it's just a beautiful book that I think everybody could get something out of.
Wow, you said so much right there.
This is
I cannot wait to
one
go
of our
order it
clients. Like they're
right
all like
now.
this. All of them. It's unbelievable.
You also said the miracle H word. You said how, and because you said that, and I know Hal really well. In fact, when I see him again, I'm going to ask him to be on the show. Hal is so amazing, and I started the Miracle Morning 7.5 years ago. Absolutely love it. Still do it every day, and absolutely love it. And if this
Wow,
is
that's
anywhere in
awesome.
that place, I cannot wait to get hardwired for happiness.
Oh, you'll love
And
it.
today, by the way, is October the 11th, 2022. So
Yeah.
we are we'll launch this in a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks from now, and hopefully by then we'll be able to share some good stuff on the social media post about it. I'm sure we will. So Amber, thanks so much for joining us today. You have been a real treat, a real blessing. I'm super excited to have met you. I feel
Same.
energized right now. I can't wait to go play with my girls as a result of
Yes.
this conversation. So thank you. Yeah, I wish you well. I can't wait
Yeah.
for our next discussion, Amber. Thank
We
you.
have to have a part two. And I just want to do whatever
Mhm.
I can to lift up your show and your message and what you're trying to do in the world. And same with your listeners. So I feel just really honored to have had this conversation with you. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Today's sponsor is Leave the Campground Better Than When You Got Here. That's great advice. Anytime you go into a campground or a kitchen or any person's life, leave it better than when you got here. Make an impact. Do something to help, to serve, to leave it better than when you got here. That's today's sponsor of the Eternal Optimist podcast.